HOA cut power to my home during a storm. Didn't know I own the utility company. Update 5. Karen's last public appearance was on a trashy reality show that did a segment on Nightmare Neighbors. She thought it would be her comeback. Instead, they used every embarrassing clip they could find. Her yelling at drones, bribing texts, even that old footage of her yelling at kids for sidewalk chalk. The segment ended with the narrator saying, "Some people seek power, others just trip over the cord." And just like that, Karen was done. Finally, peacefully, completely undone. It took a few more weeks for things to fully settle, but for the first time in months, the neighborhood began to breathe again. Without Karen's constant interference, the HOA returned to something resembling what it was supposed to be, a group of neighbors working together, not a power-hungry soap opera. Under Doi's leadership, real change took root. Meetings became civil, transparent, and occasionally even fun. Gone were the hostile debates over lawn ornament height, or mailbox paint shade. In their place, came discussions about improving community events, upgrading the dog park, and planting more trees along the sidewalk. The HOA, once a battlefield, was starting to feel like a neighborhood again. From my end, I made sure the transition was smooth. The new board worked with my company's liaison to rewrite their power-related bylaws. We provided them with a simple portal that allowed for transparent communication regarding utility matters, removing the potential for another rogue Karen-style attempt at grid manipulation. I also offered a grant through the company's Green Initiative Fund to install solar panels on the clubhouse roof. It would both reduce their energy costs and add a layer of clean power backup for emergencies. The board accepted gratefully. Doi even insisted I visit in person to accept their thanks, but I declined with a smile. My work wasn't about spotlight moments. It was about making sure people like Karen never had that kind of control again. The changes didn't stop with policy. Inspired by recent events, several residents came together to propose a community appreciation weekend, complete with a picnic, music, and a dedication to resilient living. Someone even joked that it should be called PowerFest. The name stuck. Flyers went up all over the neighborhood. I donated a set of rechargeable LED lanterns to be used as party favors, and the event was powered by a hybrid solar generator system we quietly set up in the background. As the big day arrived, the weather cooperated. The turnout was incredible, and not a single fuse blew. One of the highlights of PowerFest was a simple wooden plaque mounted next to the newly repainted clubhouse door. It read, "Powered by the people." Beneath it, in smaller letters, was etched "In memory of Karen's outlets." It got a big laugh when it was unveiled. No one even knew who had written it. I did, but I preferred to remain in the background, watching from afar as families danced, neighbors mingled, and the community came alive in a way I hadn't seen in years. And then, as if summoned by irony itself, Karen tried to make a final reappearance. She hadn't been seen around the neighborhood in nearly a month, choosing instead to stay indoors, draw the blinds, and probably Google how to sue your own HOA. But on the day of PowerFest, like a moth to a bonfire, she stepped onto her porch in a sun hat and oversized sunglasses, as if that would disguise her identity. She lingered near the edge of her lawn, watching the celebration with what could only be described as reluctant awe. For a moment, no one noticed her, but then a group of teenagers, recognizing her from the viral drone video, began whispering and pointing. One of them yelled, "Hey Karen, wanna charge your phone? We've got power." Laughter followed. She flinched, turned, and went back inside without a word. That was the last time I saw her in person. In the weeks that followed, Karen quietly sold her house, or rather tried to. Her reputation had become so infamous that local real estate agents had difficulty convincing buyers. One listing even had to include a disclaimer: HOA recently restructured, previous leadership no longer active. Eventually, she managed to transfer ownership to a couple from out of state, who had no idea who she was. When she finally left, there was no fanfare, no goodbye, not even a moving truck, just a single U-Haul trailer hitched to a rusting SUV, creeping down the road as the sun rose. A neighbor caught a photo of her departure and captioned it, "The power has left the building." With Karen officially gone, the community went from surviving to thriving. Inspired by the drone incident, the board launched a safety and infrastructure awareness campaign, teaching residents about how the grid works, how backup systems function, and what to do in emergencies. Nolan hosted a workshop on smart energy usage that ended with him dramatically flipping a circuit breaker while wearing a superhero cape someone handed him as a joke. Kids loved it, adults appreciated it, and everyone went home with fresh cookies. In the spirit of renewal, I decided to contribute one more surprise. At the next board meeting, a large crate was delivered to the clubhouse. Inside was a sleek digital display board, custom built by our tech department, with live readouts of the neighborhood's energy use, weather alerts, solar generation stats, and emergency notices. At the top it read, "Com Community Grid Monitor managed by you." The residents gathered around it like it was a monument. It was the final piece of reassurance they needed, that power wasn't something they had to fear or fight over anymore. It belonged to all of them. But I couldn't resist one last touch. At the base of the display, carefully carved into a brushed steel plaque, was a quote, "Never let someone who doesn't understand the system be in charge of the switch." Below it was a small pixel art engraving of a drone, complete with tiny propellers and a miniature camera lens. The board laughed for a solid 5 minutes. One resident pointed and said, "That drone deserves its own HOA seat." Life moved forward. The HOA transformed from a punchline to a model of how neighborhoods should function. Other communities even reached out asking how they'd managed to turn things around so dramatically. Dew gave interviews. Nolan became something of a local legend, and the Karen incident, as it came to be called, became both a cautionary tale and a rallying point. New homeowners learned about it during their welcome packet walkthrough. Kids wrote a play about it for a school project. One clever teenager even released a rap song titled "Step Away from the Conduit." As for me, I finally turned my house lights back on, not because I needed them, but because I wanted to. I sat in my living room that night, every bulb glowing, every circuit humming, sipping tea as the automated blinds slowly closed. Peace had returned, not just because Karen was gone, but because the community had reclaimed itself. They remembered that power isn't about control, it's about trust, transparency, and knowing who you are when the lights go out. Somewhere out there, Karen was probably stewing in a smaller neighborhood, picking her next battle, already scanning for rulebooks to twist. But here, in this little slice of suburbia, her reign was over, and the grid was stronger than ever.